guys, so today we're going to be looking at trigonometry. Okay, so there's two rules you need to know about trig. It only happens in right angled triangles, only ever happens in right angled triangles. And the second rule that you need to know is that it only happens when there's other angles inside my triangle involved. Other angles are involved. If there's no angles and just sides in my right angle triangle, I'll be using Pythagoras theorem. But if there are other angles involved, I will be using trigonometry. Okay, now say for example, here's my right angle triangle. This would be my right angle and this would be my angle given. Now the side that is opposite my right angle is called a hypotenuse, so I'm going to label that my hypotenuse. Okay, now the side opposite the angle that they've given me is called opposite, and the leftover side will be called my adjacent. Okay, so these are the three names in a right angle triangle that you have to know. Okay, now we know SOH CAH TOA, but what does it really stand for? Okay, now the S stands for sine, the C stands for cos, and the C stands for tan. Okay, now what are these values? If I have my calculator here, this will be sine, this will be cos, and this will be tan. Okay, these are my values: sine, cos, and tan. Okay, O stands for opposite, H stands for hypotenuse, A stands for adjacent, H stands for hypotenuse, O stands for opposite, and A stands for adjacent. Okay, so this is what all these letters stand for. The A is for adjacent, the O is for opposite, and the H is for hypotenuse. Okay, let's move on. Now, what are my formulas? So, I'm going to draw it out like this, so it's easier to remember. So, I want you to draw out these triangles, SOH. We've got CAH. And we've got TOA. Okay, now if I have a missing side, if I need to work out a missing side, these are going to be my formulas. So for the first one, sine theta is equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. Opposite divided by hypotenuse. This one will be cos theta is equal to adjacent divided by hypotenuse. This one will be tan theta equals to opposite divided by adjacent. Now, what does theta mean? Theta means angle given. Okay, theta literally just means angle given, and that's how you draw it. Okay, so these are my formulas. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse, cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. If you're struggling to remember them, draw it out like this: S equals O over H, C equals A over H, and T equals O over A. Okay, now what if I have a missing angle? Okay, missing angle. My formulas are slightly different. All that's different is I'll be switching the angle and the fraction over. Okay, so let's just write out our missing angle formulas. Sine minus 1 bracket opposite over hypotenuse will be equal to my missing angle. Cos minus 1 bracket adjacent over hypotenuse will be equal to my missing angle. Tan minus 1 bracket opposite over adjacent will be equal to my missing angle. Now, how do I get sine minus 1, cos minus 1, and tan minus 1? I look at my calculator and I click shift, then I click sine. Okay, that will give me sine minus 1. I do not do sine to the power minus 1. I don't do that. I click shift, sine, shift, cos, and shift tan. That will give me sine minus 1, tan minus 1, and cos minus 1. Now, the minus 1 is only needed when working out an angle. Only needed when working out angle. Okay, and use the shift in calculator. Shift in calculator. You do not do to the power minus 1. Okay, so these are our rules. Let's make sure we have them written down. So in a right angle triangle, the side opposite my right angle is the hypotenuse. The side opposite the angle given is called my opposite, and the leftover side is called my adjacent. S stands for sine, C stands for cos, and T stands for tan. O stands for opposite, H stands for hypotenuse, and A stands for adjacent. And these are my formulas for when I have a missing side and when I have a missing angle. Now let's go through some examples. So what do I do and how do I put trig into practice? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is when I'm given my right angle triangle is I'm going to label it. So the side opposite my right angle is called my hypotenuse. The side opposite the angle given is called my opposite. And the leftover side is called the adjacent. Okay, so now I've written down which side is opposite, which side is hypotenuse, and which side is adjacent. Now I'm going to write down SOH CAH TOA as clearly as I can. And I'm going to cross off the information that I've been given. So I have my angle. In trig, you'll always be given your angle. So you cross off the sine, the cos, and the tan. Now I've also been given my hypotenuse, so I'm going to cross off my h's. And I need to work out my opposite, so I'm going to cross off the o's. Now which one is fully crossed out? I know it's SOH. Now because I'm working out a missing side, what is my formula for SOH? Sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Now always write down your formula in the question, even if you know at the top of your head, so you get at least 1 mark. Okay, so now let's fill in our missing values. Okay, so sine, our angle is 35. Sine 35 is equal to, opposite is going to be x over hypotenuse is 20, so over 20. Now for this question, I'm working out the value of x. So to work out the value of x, I need to make x the subject of my formula. To do that, I need to take 20 to the other side. Right now, it's being divided by 20, so the opposite of that is multiplied by 20. So I'm going to multiply this side by 20, and I'm going to multiply this side by 20. Whatever I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other side of the equation. So this cancels out. My new equation is sine 35 multiplied by 20 is equal to x. So I'm going to get my calculator. Now I'm going to write down sine 35 bracket multiplied by 20 equals to, and I get 11.471. Now if I want to give my answer to 1 decimal place, I'll cut it off after 1 decimal. The number after 1 decimal is bigger than 5, so it will round up and it will be 11.5. So x will be equal to 11.5 to 1 decimal place. Okay, let's practice another question. Now, let's label my triangle. The side opposite my right angle is called my hypotenuse. The side opposite my angle given is the opposite. And the leftover side is called my adjacent. Okay, so I've gotten my sides labelled out. Now I'm going to write down SOH CAH TOA. I've been given my angle, so I cross off the SC and T. SC and T are always crossed out in trig. I've been given my adjacent. I'm going to cross off the A's. And I need to work out my opposite, so I'm going to cross off the O's. O and O. Okay? Now, which one's fully crossed out? I know it's TOA. What does TOA stand for? It stands for tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. Now remember, always write down the formula just in case. Now let's fill in the formula. Tan, my theta, my angle given is 42 degrees. So tan 42 is equal to, opposite is x, so x divided by my adjacent, which is 11. Now, I need to make x the subject of the formula, so that means I'm going to take 11 to the other side. Okay, so to take 11 to the other side, I need to multiply it since it's being divided. I'll multiply by 11 on both sides. Now my new formula is tan 42 multiplied by 11 will give me the value of x. So I'm going to get my calculator and I'm going to write it down. Tan 42 bracket multiplied by 11 is equal to 9.90, and I want to round it to 1 decimal place, and the number after the first decimal place is a bit smaller than 0, so it's going to stay 9.9. X will be equal to 9.9 centimeters to 1 decimal place. So the length of my opposite will be equal to 9.9 centimeters. That's how you put trigonometry when working out a missing side into practice. Okay, now what to do if I need to work out a missing angle in trig? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is label my triangle. The side opposite my right angle is called my hypotenuse. The side opposite the angle given is called my opposite. and the leftover side is called my adjacent. Now I'm going to write down SOH CAH TOA, and I'm going to cross off what I've been given. I've been given my adjacent, so I cross off the A's. I've been given my hypotenuse, so I cross off the H's. Now I need to work out the angle, so I'm going to cross off S, C, and T. Now the one that's fully been crossed out is CAH. What does CAH stand for when I'm working out a missing angle? It's cos -1 bracket adjacent over hypotenuse is equal to theta, which is going to be my angle. Okay, now I'm going to fill in my blanks. Cos -1, my adjacent is 16, so 16 divided by, my hypotenuse is 24, so divided by 24 is going to be equal to my missing angle. So now I need to put this into my calculator. So I'll get my calculator. So to get -1 when I'm working out a missing angle, I need to do shift cos, that will give me cos -1. And then I need to do 16 divided by 24. Okay, close my brackets, click equals to. Now that gives me 48.189. And since I want my answer to be one decimal place, the number after 1 is bigger than 5. So 1 will round up and give me 48.2. So theta is equal to 48.2 degrees to 1 decimal place. Okay, that's my answer. So now let's practice another question. So first I'm going to label my triangle. The side opposite my right angle is called my hypotenuse. The side opposite the angle given is called my opposite. And the leftover side is called my adjacent. So I'm going to circle these. Now I'm going to write down SOH CAH TOA as clearly as I can, because sometimes you don't want to end up making a mistake. Now I've been given my adjacent, so let's tick off my A's. My A's gone and my A's gone. I've been given my opposite, so let's tick off the O's. My O's gone and my O's gone. And I need to work out a missing angle, so I'm going to cross off the S, the C, and the T. Now what's been fully crossed out, I can see it's TOA. So I'm going to write down the formula for TOA when I'm working out a missing angle is tan -1 opposite over adjacent will be equal to my missing angle. So let's fill in this formula. Tan -1, opposite is going to be 15, adjacent is going to be 11, will be equal to my missing angle. So what do I need to do now? I need to fill this in into my calculator. So I've got shift, remember shift, tan to give me tan -1. I do 15 divided by 11, close my brackets to get my missing angle, and I get 53.74. Now the number after the first decimal place is smaller than 5, so it stays the same, and your angle will be equal to 53.7 degrees to 1 decimal place. Okay, so this is how to work out a missing angle in trig. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw out some examples for you guys to practice. So I have a right angle triangle here. I have 20 centimeters. I have 35 degrees. And I have X. I have another right angle triangle here. I have 15 centimeters. I have 42 degrees and I have X. I have a triangle here. That is 16 millimeters. That is 5 millimeters. And that is X. And lastly, I have 9 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and I have X. So what I want you to do is I want you to label your triangle. So label, triangle. The second thing you need to do is SOH CAH TOA and cancel out what you've been given. Then, if you're working out a missing angle, use a missing angle formula. If you're working out a missing side, use a missing side formula. Okay, so work out formula. So always write down your formula. Then you need to substitute your numbers and fill in the formula. Fill in the formula. If you're working out x and x is not the subject of your formula, make x the subject. make x a subject. Then correctly put it into your calculator and round it to 1 or 2 decimal place, whatever the question is asking you. So this is how to do trigonometry. What if I had trig in an exam style question? Okay, so this is what your question would look like. Work out the value of x in this trapezium. So you're going to have to figure out how to use trigonometry. So I can split a trapezium into a rectangle and a triangle. And I need to work out the value of this part of my angle here. Because I know angles in a rectangle are 90 degrees. So all these would be right angles. This part would be 90 degrees. So I need to work out this part of the angle here to work out my x. So I'm going to take out this triangle here and I'm going to draw it out again and label it. Now this whole length is 6 meters and this length here is 4 meters. So 6 take away 4 would give me 2. This length would be 2 meters. Now because it's a rectangle, opposite sides are going to be the same. This is going to be 15 meters. Okay, now I've been given my 2 meters and my 15 meters and I need to work out this angle here. So I'm going to use trigonometry. Okay, so first let's label my triangle. The side opposite my right angle is my hypotenuse. The side opposite my angle given is my opposite, and the leftover side is called the adjacent. Now I'm going to write down SOH CAH TOA, and I'm going to tick off what I've been given. Okay, so I've been given my adjacent. I'm going to tick off my A's. I've been given my opposite, so I'll tick off my O's, and I need to work out an angle, so I'll cross off the S, C, and T. Now TOA has been fully crossed out. Now because I'm working out a missing angle for TOA, I'm going to write down the formula. Tan minus 1 bracket opposite over adjacent is equal to my missing angle. Now tan minus 1, my opposite is going to be 2. My adjacent is going to be 15, so 2 over 15 is going to equal to my missing angle. So let's put that into our calculator. We've got shift tan will give us tan minus 1. 2 over 15 bracket will be equal to 7.59, but I want it to 1 decimal place. So the number after my first decimal place is bigger than 5, so it's going to round to 7.6. So my angle is going to be 7.6 degrees. Okay, so if my angle is 7.6 degrees, so that means this angle here is going to be 7.6 degrees. But that's not what the question was asking. The question is asking me to work out the value of x here, which is 7.6 degrees, and this 90 degree angle here. So I'm going to do 90 plus 7.6, which gives me 97.6 degrees. So my answer to this question is x would be 97.6 degrees. Okay, now let's do another exam style question. So for example, if I had a triangle here and I had another triangle here, and this is 25 degrees and I need to work out x centimeters. This is 20 centimeters and this is 16 centimeters. Now first I'm going to work out the value of this line here to be able to work out the value of x. Okay, so looking at my first triangle, I'm going to do Pythagoras theorem because there's no angle involved. So I'm going to label this my C, this will be my A, and this will be my B. My formula for Pythagoras theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So because I'm working out b in this case here, I'm going to make b the subject of my formula. I'm minus a squared on both sides. I'm left with b squared is equal to c squared minus a squared. Now in this question, c is 20, so 20 squared, take away a squared is going to be 16 squared, take away 16 squared is equal to b. I work that out and I get 144 is equal to b squared. And since I'm working out the value of b, I need to square root both sides. Okay, so the square root of 144 will be equal to b. The square root of 144 is 12, so b is equal to 12 centimeters. Now I know that this is going to be 12 centimeters. Now that I know that that's 12 centimeters, I can work out my value of x. So I'm going to pull out this triangle here. I'm going to draw it again. So I've got 25 centimeters here, degrees here. I've got 12 centimeters here, and I've got x. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my triangle. The side opposite my right angle is called the hypotenuse. The side opposite my angle given is the opposite, and the leftover side is called the adjacent. Now I'm going to write down SOH CAH TOA, and I'm going to cross off what I've been given. I've been given my angle, which is S, C, and T. I've been given my opposite, which is O, and I need to work out the hypotenuse, which is H. So SOH has been fully crossed out, and since I'm working out a missing side, I'm going to write down sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, now I'm going to fill in what I know. I know that my angle is 25, so sine 25 is equal to, my opposite is 12, so 12 divided by my hypotenuse, which is x. Now I need to make x the subject of my formula, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by x on both sides. I've got sine 25 times x is equal to 12. Now I want x to be by itself, so I divide it by sine 25 on both sides. And I'm left with x is equal to 12 divided by sine 25. Okay, now I'm going to put that into my calculator. X is equal to 12 divided by sine 25. Put that in my calculator and I get 28.39. I want to round it to one decimal place. The number after the first decimal place is bigger than 5, so it's going to round up and it will give me x is equal to 28.4 to 1 dp centimeters. Okay, so x is equal to 28.4 to one decimal place.